How did Blue Lock Rivals, who was seemingly at the top of the Roblox front page, with many even calling it the best soccer game on Roblox, become hated out of nowhere? From suddenly switching owners to slowly but surely becoming a soulless game, being a shell of its former past, these are only some of the many reasons on why Blue Lock Rivals has caused its own demise. But to understand how it all happened, we'd have to go back to 2024 when BLR first made its debut. Blue Lock Rivals was a Roblox game consisting of 10 players per server, with 2 teams being created having 5 players each. The goal was to shoot the ball in the net of the opposing team like a normal soccer game, but as the name suggests, the game was heavily inspired by an anime titled Blue Lock. The main purpose of the game is to score the most points with the allotted time while simultaneously using many different abilities to win, and as expected, this became a major hit within the Roblox community, added on to the fact that this was one of the pioneers of Blue Lock inspired games on Roblox, especially at the time when the anime was recently released. On the peak of its popularity, Blue Lock Rivals hit its peak concurrent players having close to 400,000 in 2025, and because of this, more and more content creators were suddenly switching to making BLR content. To put its popularity into perspective, the videos showcasing new styles were reaching absurd amounts of views, having hundreds of thousands per video. BLR was on its way to the top, and frighteningly so, beating most popular sports games in just a short amount of time. However, this would all soon come to an end due to the 3 major reasons on why Blue Lock Rivals had become a soulless game that is doomed to fail in the upcoming months. Starting with the consistent, yet horrible updates. Although a majority of its community loved the game for its, at the time, unique concept, these high expectations had created a burden for the developers to keep up with the ever-growing community. They consistently released updates week by week to keep the players hooked, because as we all know, most Roblox games die out fast if there's not enough content in the game. This highly competitive platform didn't make it any easier for the developers either, because as more and more recognition and time passed by for the peak of its popularity, more and more games have also come out trying to get a piece of its growing community and overtake the game. This resulted in the developers focusing more on content updates rather than actually fixing the many bugs and problems the game already had, such as the horrible hitboxes, like when the ball could be stolen from miles apart. This is only one of the many problems the game consistently suffered from, not mentioning the animation bugs and even game-breaking exploits which allowed the player to win almost instantly by teleporting or controlling the ball into the net. And this unsurprisingly made things worse. Many of the annoying bugs the game had were buried with more and more styles being added to the game, also having their own bugs and problems. Before we continue with the rest of the video, I just wanted to say that we are so close to 80,000 subscribers, and it would help a lot if you could subscribe. This resulted in a lot of the players complaining and expressing their outrage to the game, with some even stating, "Stop updating the damn game and focus on fixing bugs. Instead of adding new styles, can they focus on fixing bugs and overall improving performance?" Due to this, many have grown dissatisfied with the game for focusing only on growing the concurrent players instead of trying to prolong the state of BLR. This even caused many to quit and switch to other Blue Lock inspired experiences. This problem would eventually grow into a bigger issue, especially when Krollo, the former owner of the game, had suddenly quit developing the game to focus more on their new game titled Basketball Zero, with him imparting a final message. "This was my company's last update for BLR. Thank you for the support so far. This was a great experience. Never expected the game to get so big. The future updates will be handled by a different company. I wish them the best, and again, thank you all. Don't worry, we will still work on other projects and we're very excited to show them to you." This resulted in a bigger outrage within the community, as the updates since then had started to focus even more on adding new styles, with game-breaking bugs taking days to even fix. However, this would only be the least of their worries, as BLR would soon face a problem that progressively gets worse to this day. As more and more styles were added to the game, this slowly but surely created a bigger problem for BLR. As many of the newer styles leaned heavily on mythics or higher rarities, this consistently resulted in better styles to be added, while the older ones were left in the dust as it was considered weak or useless. One such example is Don Lorenzo, who was the first world-class rarity to be ever released in the game. This made players rush to grind spins and obtain it. However, as more updates rolled around, this would soon be considered a mediocre style due to how outrageous and overpowered the standards of styles have become, like the low-key style being the first and only masterclass as of now, with it having 10 moves, counting the many variations each move had. This was considered the strongest style, and having it were to guarantee an easy win for whatever team you were on. This caused even more complaints from the community due to how unfair the game had become, for prioritizing spamming abilities instead of mastering different techniques and improving mechanical skills. The rarity for this certain style even made things worse for their reputation, as it once had a 0.013% chance to be obtained from normal spins, and even with lucky spins, which were really hard to get, had a staggering 0.13% chance to acquire, which were almost out of reach for casual players. And as a result, many expressed their discontent as these were easily obtained by content creators because they were given free lucky spins for making content on the game. Not to mention, due to these unfair percentages, some players were even tempted to buy from the black market to get their favorite styles, spending actual money instead of trying to get it through unreliable spins which cost a ton of Robux. These black market services often used alt accounts to exploit and ruin games for everybody, just to get tons of spins to constantly reproduce these rare styles, which hurt its player base even more as the game was also filled with bots that weren't actually playing the game. Due to the countless complaints for this specific style, the developers were forced to buff the chances 2 separate times, with the final change making it a 0.175% chance with the lucky spin. However, the hate hasn't died down due to its unfair abilities, with many players and even content creators asking what the game had become, with one stating, "I don't care if I get banned, but as long as Loki is still broken like this and they don't fix the hitbox, I will not play this game." Adding on to this, the countless reworks of other styles made a lot of the players complain due to the ever-changing meta of the game, as some of these styles changed rarities months after its release, which resulted in many being disappointed as they had wasted a lot of spins only for it to be nerfed or buffed. One such example was the latest rework for the style King, that is considered to be the best style as of recently, even beating the likes of Loki, which many deemed unfair, as it had disregarded the current rarities in place for beating other styles that were even harder to obtain. And due to these two major problems of Blue Lock rivals, more and more competition has been popping up, trying to overtake the crown for the biggest soccer game on Roblox. One of the most notable ones being Azure Latch, who adopted a very unique approach to their gameplay compared to BLR. This game had mechanics and gameplay very similar to battleground games on Roblox, which is also a very popular genre on the platform. Although their concurrent players haven't caught up to Blue Lock rivals, it still manages to gain a decent player base, hosting thousands of players. Some have even come out stating that Azure Latch is a way better game than BLR due to their focus on mechanics rather than spamming abilities. Because of the many released and even upcoming competitors the game has, this resulted in the constant pressure the developers continue to experience, which may have indirectly affected the quality of updates, as they must strictly add new content regularly, with things only becoming worse due to the complaints they receive from fans on a daily basis. These updates eventually got so bad that they sometimes release styles with unfinished moves, having tons of problems upon release. The developers did confirm that they are actively fixing bugs, with some even defending them, saying that the players have to be patient. However, many are still doubtful, stating that there's a lot yet to be fixed, as one user posted, "It's been over a month and the shooting glitch still exists, the double goal glitch is still there, Don Lorenzo is still glitched, and there are plenty of other bugs that haven't been fixed. The developers are just lazy, so stop giving them the benefit of the doubt." With all these issues in mind, the real question is, would Blue Lock rivals return to its former glory or somehow disappear into obscurity? Although the developers are now starting to focus on bug fixes, it still remains a major problem. The balancing of styles and the unfair abilities still haven't been addressed, and it seems like it won't be fixed anytime soon. The death of Blue Lock rivals has already happened, not in the sense of its player counts or popularity, but its values and morals. BLR has slowly turned out to be a corporate game that focused more on getting as much money from their players through spins, and we could safely say that Blue Lock rivals is only a shell of its former past, as it had started from a fun soccer game with abilities to a game where you had to use unfair styles to win. However, it isn't too late, especially with a supportive fanbase who consistently give criticism instead of plainly hating the game. Although many players want new styles and content to be added, many are also telling the developers to focus on the longevity of the game instead of chasing money, and only time will tell whether the developers will actually listen to the correct feedback, or if this will actually be the end of Blue Lock rivals.